Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are. A warm welcome to everyone who's joined us today. We're here with Canto and their representative, Lucas Schnabel. Our webinar today is Maximize the Value of Your Digital Content Across Multiple Channels with Magnolia CMS and Canto Cumulus. I'm Zach Grant. I'm Magnolia's Technical Evangelist. Joining us today is Lucas Schnabel, Business Development Manager at Canto.
Hello, everybody, and warm welcome from my side as well. I'm speaking to you from our Linden office. This is in the middle of Germany, near Frankfurt, and this is where our sales and our professional service teams are located. We also have offices in Berlin and in San Francisco, but let me briefly tell you what Canto does first. Canto develops a digital asset management system called Cumulus. And with our global partner network of more than 150 partners, we have a customer base of 2,500 customers under an ongoing maintenance contract. On top, our teams deliver consulting services, and the Canto Professional Services team works on individual solutions in the field of digital asset management and is consulting companies in developing digital asset management strategies and introducing solutions. And we have more than 20 years of experience in the field of DAM.
And for our part, Magnolia is a dedicated product vendor. We build, license, service, and market Magnolia CMS. And we do this in conjunction with over 70 partners. The majority of them are implementation partners, but some of them are technology partners as well, such as Canto. We have 200 or more customers of our enterprise offering and about 5,000 deployments worldwide. Our headquarters are in Basel, but we also have offices in the Czech Republic, Spain, and the USA. Our primary customers are enterprises who use us as a digital business platform. Our strengths are integration, usability, and performance, and most of these enterprises that use us are in a situation where they have many back-end systems and third-party services that they need to integrate to make a rich experience, be it e-commerce or an interactive website that they want to present across many different channels and often in many different languages in many different regions. Before we start talking about the Canto and the Cumulus and Magnolia integration, let's set a little bit of groundwork here. So first, when we talk about digital assets, what are we talking about? And it's a very broad category. A simple definition is that it's all the electronic files that are created or acquired by an organization that have got some sort of intrinsic value to that organization. Often they're the things that we use to do our day-to-day business. Managing this set of assets has many challenges that come with it, especially as we have more and more assets in our day-to-day work. For the marketing team here at Magnolia, for example, we have now hundreds of different pieces of content that are in play at different times. Lucas will now outline some of the key challenges that people face, and these apply to, say, Magnolia, but also to, I think, most of us working in business in a larger corporate setting.
Well, thank you, Zach. Well, consumers are demanding more visual content, and in response to that, businesses are producing more content as well. And to gain economies of scale, the companies must get as much use out of their digital asset investments as possible, and use the created collateral as much and as valuable as they can. I'm not sure if we have many marketing people in the audience, but the ones who work on creating marketing materials know how time and how money consuming it can be to create good content. So once this content is produced, you want to maximize the value of it by reusing it as much and as often as you can. And most marketing materials already have been created someday in the past by someone. But the moment when you want to publish an asset, an image, suddenly a long time-consuming search begins. You start searching network folders, your CMS library, your email attachments, maybe even your Dropbox. And in case the image is not found, it has to be created again. And to avoid this, you need to find your digital assets and be able to refactor them and they save them with proper versioning for future use. And the great thing about Magnolia CMS and its great usability is that everyday marketeers have the power to quickly make updates to your website without having to call in a favor from a fellow web developer. And new web content typically includes uploading images into your CMS media library. Unfortunately, that, as the slide shows, creates duplicates.
And so why are the duplicates a problem? I mean, typically people have to deal with duplicates across many different systems all the time.
Well, on the one hand, duplicates take up unnecessary disk space. And on the other hand, they also reduce the likelihood of finding the right image quickly, as you end up reviewing multiple versions before deciding which one is the right one. And if you think of the use case where a content piece needs to be updated, like a product shot or an updated partner logo or something else, the file must be manually produced and then placed again into the CMS. And doing so increases the risk that the old data remains in the CMS and could accidentally be used when in fact it should be retired. So in fact, multi-channel content marketing has gotten quite complex. And you have product images on your website, videos on your blog, photos in social media, PowerPoint slides, and keeping track of all of that can get out of control pretty fast. The flood of media has enormous risks, and it is difficult to manage. Do you have the rights to all the images you're using? Are you certain the rights have not expired? Do you have old product images on your website from last season? Does your PowerPoint deck include the latest approved slides? Well, nowadays, every day, new marketing channels arise, and the amount of digital media and content is growing exponentially. So it's really hard for marketing managers to check that all media files on all channels are correct. And this is where the connector between Magnolia CMS and Canto helps. And to be honest, the challenges that marketing is facing today can hardly be mastered without any software support. And also, timing is critical for success. Good marketing includes relevant content, but also well-timed execution. Lengthy workflows with cumbersome approval processes, they weigh down your creative teams. Marketing is becoming more agile, and the successful businesses, they act fast. They create relevant and interesting content to participate in today's digital conversations. Think of news and media companies where many editors work at the same time on hundreds of images coming from different reporters on different locations, and they are mastering this task. And also the top brands must learn to move at the speed of ideas. And when we're already talking about speed, let's talk about the speed of your website. Of course, there are countless ways to improve website performance, but if you take a look specifically at the load times, and you know many visitors will leave your website if the page takes too long to load, and often images and videos are to blame for this delay, especially when people visiting websites on their mobile devices. And you have to make sure that the videos and the images are delivered to all devices with the right quality and the optimized performance. Image caching is one way to speed up page load times, and we use an image factory, which converts images from Cumulus into any specific size on demand, served up via the CMS. And Magnolia CMS uses the image factory to display on your website any size image, from full screen to thumbnail and anything in between, without having to load the various sizes into the CMS. And to solve those challenges that we talked about now, our companies have developed a connector. And this connector is a bridge between Magnolia CMS and Cumulus. Cumulus captures all kinds of metadata, and supports all common standards. The files can be found based on any metadata value, and the data can be visualized and used for workflow automation. You can automate previous manual processes and streamline your content creation workflows that can be custom tailored on your organization's demands. So let me now show you some of this in our live demo part. So I hope everybody is seeing my screen right now. This is our Cumulus web client, and I'm logging in as an editor now who has more rights than the regular employee. And on login, we're starting with the dashboard to give you a brief overview of the last activities in the system. And in this demo case, we configured it for license management workflows. This is a nice use case and an example how processes, for example, approval workflows can be streamlined. First, I want to show you how to add metadata to an asset. So I'm going to pick this one. And this is an example picture from a photo shooting that we did here at Canto Linden. You actually see our professional service staff here. When you are in the detail mode, you see in the first field set some technical infos. Keep in mind this is all totally configurable and can be adjusted to your company needs. In the next fields, you see some of the copyright infos. You can add an author or a photographer and many additional copyright infos, like license status. This is a so-called label, and I'll show you later that it's generated from the two fields below, valid from and valid until, and give you a brief example how that workflow can be configured in Cumulus. So let's get into edit mode. First of all, I'm going to add a keyword, photo shooting. The author is Canto Linden. I'm going to leave the copyright node as blank because I'll show you something else later on. And go into license valid from this month and just say it's valid to 2020. You can add the source of the image, like internal photo shooting. And you can even say where the asset can be used and on which channels. I'm sorry for that this isn't in English, but let's say you can use it in internet and apps. So, and I can even put in a designated use. So if you can only use the image in, like, say, in this one certain app, you can say only use in app XY. I can also document many other things, such as how I am allowed to use a picture, where I can use it. I can add information for print, like the circulation, if you can only use it like X times. And I can say in which distribution region it can be used, like Europe or Asia, or if there's no problem. So I'm gonna save this and go out of edit mode, show you all the assets, and this is the image. And when we get back into the image, you see our so-called label just set license is valid, since the license status is it's valid till 2020. So this is all totally configurable and can be completely customized to adapt all the workflows in your company or even outside when working with externals. Another thing is the asset usage history you see down here below. I can see what the users did with this picture, and as soon as the license runs out, I can inform those users proactively and write them an email, tell them, please don't use this asset anymore. And you also see a reference to CMS. This is pretty nice too. Magnolia writes back when an asset is used and in which project, and in case the license runs out, the website will show a different picture or a prior allowed alternative of the picture. And this is all part of the out-of-the-box integration that we're presenting you today. And now I will show you how to upload a new asset. So I'm gonna take this Canto lifecycle asset and drop it in the drop zone. We're seeing this is a lifecycle picture. Can view it and edit it as well and put in status. And let's just say this picture can no longer be used. So we have the life cycle picture. And now I want to show you the metadata template. We can add templates for routine jobs. And we have the Canto copyright as a routine job. And since this picture is from us, we can just apply that and just watch the copyright notice. If you apply it, it's filling out the copyright notice. And you can even do this as a mass action, so you save time with the templates here. And again, depending on your company, this is all totally configurable. So let's log out and log back in as employee. And the employee is only seeing the images where the license is valid. So the employee is not seeing the image that I just uploaded since it ran out yesterday. And for assets where the license is valid, they can be downloaded with different download actions. But we configured it for assets that are expiring in the next 60 days that they can no longer be downloaded, so you don't run into problems. And this is where the integration comes into place as well. Magnolia CMS is only showing the assets where the license is still valid, so the web editor won't even choose a picture that is not or shouldn't be used. So all this metadata with license info is now in the IPTC data of the assets. So the information is saved directly in the image. And yeah, Magnolia only gets the assets with the correct license information. So your company won't be put at risk to run in some license problems. And now Zach will show you how the integration is working on the Magnolia side. So I'd be happy to hand over to Zach. One moment, please. Yep.
Thanks, Lucas. So on the Magnolia side of things, let's walk through First, briefly what Magnolia is, because not all of the participants have seen Magnolia before, and let's talk about how we integrate with Cumulus. So what you see here is me logging into the Magnolia shell. This is the control panel for a Magnolia instance. It's structured so that it has many small, single-purpose applications that do one task or one related group of tasks well. Each of these apps is good at interacting with other apps. So it helps keep things simple and makes it easy to build complex functionality from small interchangeable pieces. The other key thing around the Magnolia shell, if you're not familiar with it, is that it's designed from a mobile-first perspective. When we redesigned Magnolia's control panel some years back, we started off with the idea that we wanted it to run on tablet devices. And that's what we've done. The interface that you see on the desktop is very much the same interface that you see on a tablet device like an iPad. So we've integrated Cumulus as an asset. It looks very much like a stripped-down version of our built-in digital asset management functionality. Let's quickly take a look at that. One other thing you'll notice here is that when an app starts, there's an amount of Chrome. So things like the tree view that you see now displayed, or the list view that's next to it. These are a part of Magnolia's application framework. When a developer sits down to extend Magnolia, they have access to all of this functionality. They can quickly and easily build their own apps that are purpose-built for interacting with other pieces of software. We, of course, use this framework to integrate with Cumulus. So let's start by looking inside this display of assets that come from a running instance of Cumulus. So as we navigate into a folder and select an image, we see a few things. First, we notice that we get a preview of what the image is, and we also get access to other metadata. And we present just a simplified view here. The green shows that it's accessible, and we can see the last modification date. We could easily pull in other columns as well from Canto, and this would be dependent on what a client needed. It's also easy for clients to customize these apps to meet their own specific requirements. Different companies, of course, have different asset workflows. Let's then go to the Pages app, where you end up editing and creating pages for your website inside of Magnolia, or at least this is one common way to do it. I've navigated into a standard article. What you're seeing in front of you right now is Magnolia's editing interface. It's something like a WYSIWYG interface in that it takes what a website looks like and it overlays it with editing tools. What you see right now is just the demo website that Magnolia ships with. Let's edit the page header for this article. You can see that right now we've got an image that we've pulled out of Magnolia's digital asset management system. We can see what that is by selecting the Magnolia asset here, but let's replace it with a Cumulus asset. Let's go back to the folder that we were looking in just a moment ago. So now we can see that I've swapped out the image that's from Magnolia's built-in asset manager with something that's coming from a separate Cumulus instance. Some key things to call to mind or call to notice so far. All of the files that you've seen that we're pulling out of this Canto instance are completely managed by Cumulus. So what's happening is as an asset becomes available in Cumulus, Magnolia gets access to it as well. Instead of having to maintain one copy of files inside of your CMS, inside of Magnolia, and another copy in some other location, you get to use the same file in many different places coming from the same source. You also get the benefit of not forcing your users to go to a separate location to try and find an asset. If it's available to them and you've got it inside of Cumulus, it's immediately available on your instance of Magnolia. It really smooths out the workflow and helps prevent a lot of the issues that Lucas mentioned earlier, things like duplication or not being able to find the right asset when you need it. So let's publish this content. And publishing is a part of Magnolia's standard workflow, but there's something to call to mind here. When we publish this page, it'll be immediately available publicly. But when you integrate with Cumulus, Cumulus still maintains control over the asset that is being sent out. If you say publish an image and realize that there's a defect in it of some kind, you can update the image inside of Cumulus and have it automatically displayed in Magnolia. Of course, at times this can also induce problems. If you aren't cautious, you might end up replacing an image in a way that doesn't work with your published content on Magnolia. But again, that's very much up to the workflow that you have in place. In some cases, say if you're licensing content or licensing assets, it's very advantageous to have a single point of control of your assets. In other situations, you might want to make it so that Cumulus has to go through part of some approval process before it changes an image on a site. One other key thing about the integration between Cumulus and Magnolia is how it integrates with some of Magnolia's built-in features. So if we close this article for a moment, and then we go and look at the front page of this demo website, you can see in this left-hand column that the article we just edited is displayed automatically on the front page in a condensed format. We take what the template defines as being the most important image, this header image, scale it down and display it with the first paragraph from the page. We've made the integration so that this content again comes from Cumulus instead of coming from Magnolia. If we take a look at the link for the image, I'll just wait for this to come up. Here we go. You can see that we're pulling from the Sandbox instance of Canto. You can also note, if you're a Magnolia developer and listening to this, that many of the rendering properties for the assets coming from Canto are controlled inside of the URL string. It's quite easy to modify your templates so that you control how an image is scaled or cropped from within your templates instead of, say, from other source or from by hand. So that's a quick overview of what we've done with the integration. This really scratches the surface, of course, of what you can do both with Cumulus and with Magnolia. The integration is in ongoing development. We'll continue to add features to it and extend it. And as I mentioned before, it's also something that, because of the nature of Magnolia, it's easy for developers to change the functionality of the integration or to build their own integration and get a different set of features. Both Magnolia and Cumulus are quite feature-rich products, and there may be different use cases that you want to exploit compared to what we've shown here. Now that we've given that quick summary, what questions do people have about the integration, about Magnolia, about Cumulus? I think the first question that comes to mind for me is, how does this deal with scaling? Of course, with how this integration is implemented, you end up pulling your HTML content from your Magnolia instance, and you pull your assets from your Cumulus instance. This, of course, gives you some scaling advantage immediately. You have two different servers. You end up spreading load across the systems. But how do you end up dealing with cases where you need to serve many images across many different regions very quickly, or if you're dealing with very large images or other content like videos? I know that Cumulus integrates with CDN solution, which of course is a standard approach to solving these problems. And that's very much what you end up dealing with. You can easily put things like reverse proxy in front of Cumulus or use other caching strategies. There's nothing that's really rocket science here about scaling up either of these applications. You use pretty well-known patterns to do this. So the first question is, what happens if someone erases an asset in Cumulus that's published on Magnolia? This depends on the integration. As the integration is written now, if an asset is is made unavailable in Cumulus, it becomes unavailable inside of Magnolia. That's because it's not actually inside Magnolia. What's happening is that there is a URL that points to an image asset. If you take that down, the image doesn't show up. There are, of course, ways around this. You can bring those images into Magnolia dynamically, but that would require some amount of development. As I said before, it really depends on the use cases that you have. In some situations, you want to make sure that you have absolute control over an asset and can take it down at any point in time. And in other situations, you want to optimize instead the end user experience and make sure that they're able to get content as in basically any case or in most cases. And taking an image down immediately isn't quite as key. And then you might have some sort of caching in place or require that there is an approval process, that Cumulus be hooked into Magnolia's workflow engine before it can make a change to an asset.
Well, and Zach, let me add something here. You can always define an alternative. So a standard picture that comes out if the asset is not found in Cumulus. So that's what a lot of customers of ours are doing when they have this DRM case. The moment where the license runs out, you want to take the picture off the website because you don't want any problems with licenses. And then if there is no alternative to the picture, there's a standard alternative that will be published on the website. I hope that clears things a little bit up.
There's a follow-up question for that, which is there some kind of lock so you can prevent an asset from being erased?
Well, of course, you can always put that on user roles and user rights. So only the let's say the head of editing can delete this, so that the regular user cannot even delete assets or delete pictures, images, whatever.
The next question comes in German, so I will use my minimalistic German skills to repeat it and then hope that it is sufficient for Lucas to translate. Wie kann ich in den Asset suchen, wenn ich mehr Bilder habe als 1 oder 2? Kann ich nach Titel Keywords suchen?
All right, so Mr. Vogelgesang is asking how can he search the assets if there are more than 1 or 2 pictures? Can I search in the metadata? Can I search for keywords, etc.? And of course you can. All the metadata in the asset is searchable. You have just to configure it that way. So you don't have any problems with browsing your images. You can use the search function.
There is another question, but I think we've answered it already. And that is that when the license of an image becomes invalid, the image simply disappears on the page. Can you define a backup image to be shown in the solution?
Well, exactly. You can define a backup image, and you can also say, well, you can define a couple of backup images. It depends on your company's workflow.
Another question, is it possible to select part of an image and not only set the size of the image via the URL?
Well, it is possible. The tool that we use, the image factory, can not only size the image, but it can also trim it and select a part of the image that you want to show.
Thank you very much for your time today, and thank you very much, Lucas, for spending the time to talk with us and demo Cumulus.
Well, thank you, Zach, for the invite.
Thank you very much, and we hope to see you for the next webinar.